It was so different in beta, people would leave mid-game for smoke breaks. Yeah, I remember playing League. So when League came out, so here's some fun stuff about early League. I don't know, like early. I played like Ezreal. I started Malzahar patch, but one of the fun things about early League is that you could play the game. You could play ranked when you were level 20. They had this in the game, I think, for 2 weeks to a month. It was very shortly lived, but basically, right now you have to be level 30 to play ranked. You need 10 champions and all that. Back then, you could play when you were level 20, and back then it actually may put you at a disadvantage because you had 10 less runes than everybody else. So you literally had lower stats than your opponents. And so naturally, when I played, I got to level 20, immediately hit ranked and lost 10 games in a row. And then the patch afterwards, they removed that because they were, and they released data, and Riot was like, hey, by the way, one of the reasons we're doing this is below level 30 accounts have a significantly lower win rate in ranked. That doesn't seem fair. We're making sure you got to be 30 to go there. The levels took way longer to get. Oh yes, it took much longer to level up in League of Legends. So one of the things about Old League 2 that's no longer true is Old League, a lot of the revenue is tied to champion sales. Like one of the reasons Riot made champions every 2 weeks was that was like one of the major sources of like keeping the lights on. That hasn't been true for a very, very long time. Nowadays, champions are not really a source of revenue. Some people have conspiracy theories as an example of like, oh my god, they make the new champion OP so they can make lots of money, and it's like, that's not a thing. It's not. It turns out most of the people who play League, they just, have the essence to just get new champions as they come out. But, back in the day, that was much less the case, because back in the day, like, champions in terms of time spent playing the game were like fairly expensive. Like it took a lot of hours to get a champion for free. Especially the 6300 ones, and yeah, you gotta play a lot of time. I remember when I got my first 6300, I think I got Caitlyn with it, and oh my god, I was so excited to get her. I think it was Caitlyn that I got, and I just thought she was super cool. She was like this girl with a sniper rifle, and I got her and I played her a few times. She was a blast. Loved playing her. Felt so good for college August to, I grinded for a week to get a bunch of IP that I could drop on Caitlyn from Arcane, exactly. It was a bit different back then. Nowadays, we've like made it a lot easier to get champions, very deliberately. It's like, nowadays it's like, hey, if you're joining League of Legends, a lot of the people who are already playing just have a bunch of the champions, right? So if you're getting in as a new player, it's like probably pretty important that you can catch up a bit, find characters you like. Man, have you all seen what League looks like? League release visuals. Have you all seen like what the game used to look like? Can I find it? Here's a picture of Dominion. Look at Nasus. Look at this guy. Look at that beautiful ground texture. Still has the same icons, by the way. Pog. Ignite and Ghost look a little different, though. I gotta have good ones, like League original UI. Oh yeah, here we go. Oh, look at this. Look at this beauty. Oh my god, Ateric, the Gem Knight. Wow, this is, I never played with this. This is a lot. Didn't play with this one. They updated the UI by the time I joined. Updated it to be a bit more palatable, I would say. Oh wow. Okay, now I'm just dying of getting lost in nostalgia. Oh, here we go. We got Sona over here. Ooh. Old Sona. Look, you start with the Meki Pendant, get some mana regen, and then old Sona was just an Aura bot. none of her little snuggle zones that she has, and it was just auras. Push Q, give Ezreal AD and AP so he can shoot them with his W through the wave, slow their attack speed, healing you and damaging them, and then engage with EQ amped by AP for big burst. Outplays. Yeah, eventually you buy a Kage's pick. Peak League of Legends as a support. You got Heart of Gold, the best item ever made, followed by a Kage's pick and a Philo Stone, also the best items ever made. And then you run around and buy 20 pink rewards and an Oracle Elixir. Ideal. League has come so far. Yeah, no, it's looks a lot better nowadays. Peak GP build. Yeah. GP went Rice Blades is what they were called. There was these you could buy Avarice Blades, which all they gave you was crit chance and gold per 10. And so Gangplank's build is he'd buy 8 of them, and then not 8 of them, sorry, you'd buy 5 to 6 of them, and you'd just be farming and farming. And the fun thing about Gangplank back then is his Q crit for just an absolutely obscene amount of damage. And I know you're like, well, what about barrels? Yeah, well the thing is that his Q is targeted, right? And so right now, if you target someone with your Q on Gangplank, like, yeah, it'll hurt a little bit. But like, man, you'd get like a bunch of crit on old Gangplank, and it would crit fully the base damage and the AD ratio, and you just like, Nilly's health would be 3/4 gone just by clicking on her. And then you could deny your minions. And so there's a strategy on Gangplank where you just sit in your base and you'd shoot minions with your execute attack, so that the enemy mid laner would lose the game because they would be down minions, and so your mid laner would level up before them and then just kill them. Quality gameplay. Quality League of Legends. It was called Raise Morale. Yeah. Why isn't damage zone viable? Because we've nerfed it to not be very viable. Basically that. We tend to Sona, when she can like go mid lane and poke you out, tends to be a little suspect, so we need to make sure it's not too good. Yeah. Gangplank used to be Dota 2 Lich. Yeah, he used to have a Lich-like thing. It didn't give him mana though. It gave him like attack speed and AD or something like that. Old Gangplank was one of the characters I really liked. My type of character is pretty low APM, low mechanics. I like just clicking on things and having them happen, and Gangplank was pretty good at that. I played him jungle. So, in Original League, there wasn't 2 junglers. The jungle was actually tuned such that most champions couldn't jungle. And so a lot of characters, they try to jungle, would just die to it. So what would happen is you'd have a jungler some games, and if you had a jungler, it wasn't guaranteed that your opponent would have one. If they didn't have one, they'd have 2 people top lane. And so a lot of these Season 1 jungle guides were actually about full clearing the jungle, and full clearing the jungle meant doing your jungle, the enemy jungle, and then dragon. And so I remember I would play Warwick, and I would do the whole circuit of the map, clearing the entire jungle, and I'd end at dragon and take dragon. And then eventually I got high enough MMR where people caught on to my bullshit and started warding dragon. And then it was over for me, because then I'd try to go solo dragon and they'd show up and beat me up. But like a legitimate strat on Warwick, since he was one of the only characters who could jungle, was like, hey, you need to learn how to clear the whole map. It's pretty wild. Yeah, old Warwick was another character I liked. I would go Warwick and I would rush mana regen, because in old League, mana was a lot more of a thing. Original League was a lot more Dota-like in terms of mana costs. It wasn't full-on Dota, like you could still cast a lot more spells than in Dota, but old League was very much like you could run out of mana. And so my intuition, as the absolute genius that I was as follows. Warwick Q heals you. Healing gives you infinite health. But if you use Warwick Q, you run out of mana. So if you buy mana, you can never run out of health. And so I would rush a mana item, and then I would basically just never run out of health again. I could stay on the map literally forever. I had one game where I think I had 10,000 gold. I never backed. It was like playing Aram, but it was on Summoner's Rift. I just started with my little mana regen pendant, and then I just just did the jungle and ganked, and then we were chilling. Didn't have to back the whole game. Could just go infinite on my health. Good times.